Most people wait. They wait for a new month, a better job, the perfect partner, the ideal moment to change. But here's the truth no one tells you. Waiting is a silent form of surrender, and the longer you wait, the further you drift from the person you were meant to become. You don't need better circumstances. You need a stronger mindset. You don't need more time. You need more intention. This episode is not about motivation or quick hacks. It's about rebuilding your life from the inside out, using ancient Stoic principles that have stood the test of time. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're capable of more but can't seem to move, then this is your wake-up call. This is the reminder you've been avoiding, the quiet but powerful push back to yourself. Because the Stoic path doesn't begin with grand gestures, it begins with ownership. Quiet, daily, intentional work. So if you're ready to stop waiting and start transforming, stay with me. Because your inner work starts now. 1. You are your greatest project. You are not a task to complete. You are a lifelong masterpiece in progress. And yet, how often do we forget this? How often do we rush through our days trying to fix what's broken around us? Our relationships, our schedules, our circumstances, while completely ignoring the one thing that holds it all together: ourselves, your mind, your habits, your beliefs. That is your foundation. And if that part of you is weak, scattered, or neglected, then everything you build on top of it, your job, your goals, your reputation, will eventually crack. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations for the world. He wrote them for himself, as reminders, as daily tools to shape his thoughts and strengthen his character. Why? Because even an emperor knew that self-mastery was the hardest and most important battle of all. You are your greatest project, because everything in your life is filtered through your perception, your decisions, and your character. Change those, and the world around you begins to change too. But let's be honest, working on yourself doesn't feel glamorous. No one claps when you choose to stay disciplined. No one sees the mental battles you win in silence. And that's exactly why it matters. Because the deepest kind of growth is invisible. It happens when you decide to speak calmly instead of explode. When you resist the temptation to lie for comfort. When you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy excuse. These moments won't go viral. They won't get applause, but they're the quiet bricks of a powerful life. Too often we look for change in the wrong places. We try to switch jobs, move cities, find new people, start fresh. And sometimes that's needed. But if you keep changing your environment while staying the same internally, you're not evolving. You're just escaping. You'll carry the same anxiety, the same impatience, the same lack of discipline with you wherever you go. Real transformation doesn't happen through escape. It happens through confrontation with yourself. Ask yourself, what are you building? Not in your career, not on social media, not in the eyes of others. What are you building in your mind, in your discipline, in your ability to stay calm when things go wrong? Because the storms of life are not optional, but who you become in the middle of them, that is. The Stoics didn't aim for perfect lives. They aimed for prepared minds, minds that were ready to endure, adapt, and grow stronger, no matter the situation. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming, and that includes the small ones. Waking up early when you don't feel like it, finishing a task with care, keeping a promise to yourself. These aren't just habits, They're declarations. You're saying, I'm not waiting to be fixed. I'm building myself now. And let's be clear, this isn't about perfection. It's not about creating a flawless version of yourself. It's about committing to the work every day. It's about showing up for yourself, even when no one else does, even when progress feels slow. Because building yourself takes time. It's not a sprint. It's a craft, a discipline, a lifestyle. So don't wait for a moment of clarity. Create it. Don't wait for motivation. Build systems. Don't wait for someone to come and inspire you. Inspire yourself through action, through quiet consistency, through the knowledge that even when the results are invisible, you're still becoming something stronger. You are not passive clay. You are the sculptor. Every thought, every choice, every challenge, they're all part of your design. And if you truly believe you are your greatest project, then treat yourself like it. Prioritize your mental clarity. Learn from your mistakes without shame. Be kind, but not soft. And above all, stay in motion, because there is no finished version of you, only the next version. You are your greatest project, and every day is another chance to build something remarkable. 2. No one is coming to save you. It's a hard truth to swallow, but a necessary one. Deep down, many people still hold on to a quiet hope that something will happen, or someone will show up, and everything will finally fall into place. Maybe it's a mentor, a partner, a lucky break, or a dramatic life event that magically rewrites the script. But here's the problem. That hope becomes a trap. The more you wait to be saved, the less you take responsibility. And without responsibility, there is no power. There is only waiting, only delay, only the slow erosion of your potential. Stoicism strips away that illusion. It forces you to confront the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time waiting for a good life. Build it." That's not a motivational quote. It's a command, a call to action. Because time doesn't pause for indecision, and no one, not even the people who love you, can live your life for you. At some point, you have to stop outsourcing your effort, your choices, your future. You have to step into the uncomfortable truth that you are the only one who can do the work. That doesn't mean you have to do it all alone, but it does mean that you are the one who must initiate it. People can support you. They can walk beside you, but they cannot carry you. They cannot make you care. They cannot force you to break the pattern, get out of bed, study when you're tired, or stay disciplined when no one is watching. That part is always yours. The weight of that reality can feel overwhelming at first, but if you sit with it long enough, something else emerges: freedom. Because if no one is coming to save you, then you don't have to wait anymore. You're free to start. Right now. No permission needed. No ideal conditions required. When you accept this, your posture changes. You stop blaming. You stop fantasizing. You stop hoping that someone else will fill the void. And you begin. You begin where you are, with what you have, and you take ownership of your direction. That shift, while subtle, is powerful. It moves you from a life of reaction to a life of creation. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What will I do with this?" And that mindset turns every obstacle into an opportunity for strength. If you're struggling right now, don't romanticize rescue. Strategize your rise. Break your problems down. Ask better questions. What can I do today to reduce the chaos in my life? What habits are keeping me stuck? What conversations am I avoiding? The moment you start asking those questions, you're already reclaiming your power. Because power isn't loud, It's quiet. It's the steady confidence that builds when you stop waiting and start moving. There will be times when things feel unfair, when you've done everything right, and the results still don't show up. That's part of the process. The Stoics never promised ease. They promised meaning. They believed that hardship was not a punishment, but a forge. And the harder the conditions, the more powerful the person who learns to endure them. So don't waste your life waiting for the world to change. Change your posture within the world. Don't wait for someone to unlock the door. Build your own key. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes longer. And no, it's not as glamorous. But it's real. It's earned. And most importantly, it's yours. The truth is simple. No one is coming to save you. But the moment you stop needing rescue, you realize something much greater. You were built to rise, to rebuild, to redirect. The power is already in you. It always was. 3. Discipline is the foundation of freedom. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want, sleeping in, skipping the gym, giving in to impulses and calling it living your truth. But what they don't realize is that this kind of freedom is a trap. It feels good in the short term, but it builds a life of chaos, regret, and lost potential. Because without structure, we don't grow, we drift. And the Stoics understood this better than anyone. To them, freedom wasn't about escape. It was about control. Not control over others, but control over yourself, your reactions, your desires, your habits. True power, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discipline. And not the loud, aggressive kind that beats you into shape, but the quiet kind that shows up every day, even when it's inconvenient. Discipline isn't punishment, it's self-respect. It's the way you prove to yourself that your long-term vision matters more than your momentary feelings. Because feelings change, motivation fades. But discipline, when practiced consistently, becomes identity. Think about it. Every time you choose discipline, you're sending a signal to yourself, I can trust me. That trust builds confidence, and that confidence builds momentum. And with momentum, you stop needing motivation altogether. You don't have to negotiate with yourself every morning. You just do the work. Because it's who you are now. Not something you force, but something you embody. The Stoic doesn't chase motivation. He builds systems. He knows the path to greatness is not made of lightning bolts, but of ordinary actions repeated daily. The simple things, waking up early, moving your body, showing up for your responsibilities, sticking to a plan. These habits aren't glamorous, but they are transformative. They sharpen your mind, stabilize your emotions, and expand your capacity. And most importantly, they give you a kind of freedom that can't be taken away. The freedom to trust yourself when life gets hard. We often envy people who seem calm under pressure, who don't get shaken by every problem. But what we're really seeing is the result of discipline. Discipline in thought, discipline in emotion, discipline in behavior. They've trained their inner world to remain stable no matter how unstable the outer world becomes. That's the kind of strength Stoicism offers. Not the strength to dominate others, but the strength to govern yourself. And yes, discipline is hard, especially at the beginning. It feels restrictive. You'll miss comfort, you'll crave ease. But over time, something shifts. What once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like liberation. Because now you don't depend on fleeting motivation. You don't fall apart when life throws distractions at you. You don't let every craving dictate your direction. You become grounded, steady, reliable, first to yourself and then to others. So ask yourself honestly, do you want freedom or do you want relief? Because they're not the same. Relief is temporary. Freedom is earned. Relief numbs your discomfort. Freedom comes from facing it, from doing the hard things now so you can live a better life later. And the bridge between where you are and where you want to be is discipline. That's why the Stoic life is not about denial. It's about alignment. Aligning your actions with your values, your habits with your goals, your days with your vision. And the moment you begin doing that, discipline stops feeling like a burden and starts becoming a gift. Because there's no greater freedom than knowing you are no longer ruled by weakness. 4. Start small, but stay consistent. We often overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can do in a year. That's where most people fail. They try to change everything overnight. Wake up at 5 a.m., work out for 2 hours, meditate, journal, quit sugar, read 5 books, and by the 3rd day, they're burned out, discouraged, and right back where they started. But the Stoic approach is different. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's about building habits slowly, steadily, and letting time do the heavy lifting. The Stoics never talked about overnight transformation. They talked about daily practice. Well-being is realized by small steps, said Zeno, but it is no small thing, because small steps, repeated consistently, build momentum, and momentum creates identity. You don't become disciplined by reading about discipline. You become disciplined by doing one disciplined act, then another, and another, until it becomes who you are. Start small. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier. Maybe it's choosing water instead of soda. Maybe it's leaving your phone in the other room for an hour. These seem like nothing, but they're not. They're proof. Proof that you're not just thinking about change, you're embodying it. And the more you act in alignment with the person you want to become, the more natural those actions feel. You stop forcing discipline, you start flowing with it. But the key is consistency, because without it, effort fades. How many times have you started something strong, only to abandon it the moment life got hectic? That's why starting small is so powerful. It makes the habit light enough to carry through chaos. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need massive motivation. You just need a system simple enough that you can't talk yourself out of it. And when things go wrong, because they will, you don't throw away the whole effort. You reset. You return to the basics. One of the most powerful Stoic traits is resilience, the ability to recommit again and again without ego, without drama. The Stoic doesn't chase perfect streaks. He builds habits that survive imperfection. That's what matters. Let's be clear, consistency is not about rigidity. It's about rhythm. It's not punishing yourself for missing a day. It's refusing to miss 2. It's showing up on bad days, even if you only give 40%. Because showing up at 40% still keeps the identity intact. It still signals, I'm the kind of person who does the work, even when I don't feel like it. And here's the most important part. You must learn to trust the process before the results show up. This is where most people quit. They do the right things, but they don't see immediate change, so they assume it's not working. But consistency works in silence. Your life won't transform in a week, but your mindset will begin to shift. And once your mindset changes, everything else follows. So be patient, stay humble. Start with one thing, one commitment, one non-negotiable act that you repeat every day, no matter what. Over time, that one thing becomes your anchor. Then you add another and another. until discipline becomes your lifestyle, not something you do, but something you are. Start small, but stay consistent. That's how the Stoic builds strength, quietly, daily, relentlessly. 5. Seek progress, not perfection. Perfection is a mirage. It moves every time you get closer, and yet so many of us chase it anyway. We believe we're not good enough until we have the perfect body, the perfect routine, the perfect mindset, the perfect life. But here's the truth. That mindset doesn't lead to excellence. It leads to paralysis. Because if you can't be perfect, why try at all? You hesitate, you overthink. You delay your growth waiting for the perfect time, the perfect version of you, and life quietly slips by. The Stoics rejected this illusion. They didn't care about being flawless, they cared about being better, day by day, thought by thought. They understood that the goal isn't to become someone without weakness, but someone who keeps growing despite it. Progress is messy, it's imperfect, it includes failure, confusion, setbacks, but it moves forward. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Not talent, not intelligence. Willingness. The willingness to try, to fail, to learn, and to repeat that process as long as it takes. Seneca once wrote, "While we teach, we learn." In other words, even the wise are still students. You never arrive, you simply evolve. So stop punishing yourself for not being who you think you should be. That version of you doesn't even exist. Focus instead on who you're becoming. What did you do better today than yesterday? Where did you respond with more patience? Where did you catch yourself slipping and choose to correct your course? That's progress. And it's worth far more than perfection. But let's be honest, the perfectionist inside you won't go quietly. It will whisper that your effort isn't enough, that your mistakes mean you're a fraud, that unless you do it exactly right, it doesn't count. When that voice shows up, challenge it. Remind yourself, I don't need to be perfect. I need to be committed. There's a massive difference. One leads to self-doubt, the other leads to growth. Think about a sculptor. They don't create a masterpiece in one strike of the chisel. They chip away slowly, adjusting, refining, stepping back, trying again. That's how you shape yourself. Some days you'll cut too deep. Some days you'll barely make progress. But as long as you return to the work, you're becoming something stronger. And there's another danger in perfectionism, comparison. You look at others, their success, their discipline, their curated progress, and you feel behind. But you're not behind. You're on your own path, with your own timeline, your own lessons to learn. The Stoic path isn't a race. It's a practice. And it's not about how fast you move, but how intentionally you move. Are you learning from your experience? Are you becoming wiser through effort? Then you're winning. If you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that perfectionism is often just fear in disguise. Fear of being judged, fear of failing, fear of not measuring up. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear lead. The Stoic chooses progress because progress honors life as it is, imperfect, unpredictable, but full of potential. So today, aim to grow, not to impress, not to perform, just to improve, even by 1 inch. Let go of needing to get everything right and start focusing on getting something right. Perfection will lie to you, but progress will change your life, because one imperfect step forward is always better than standing still in fear. 6. Detach from results. Focus on effort. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes. Numbers, likes, results, rewards, they've become the measuring sticks for everything we do, and when you don't see them right away, it's easy to doubt yourself, to wonder if it's worth it, to think your effort is pointless because the result hasn't shown up yet. But the Stoic sees through that illusion. He understands that real strength isn't measured by what you get, but by how you show up, regardless of what you get. This mindset is not easy to develop. It goes against everything we've been taught, that success is proof, that reward means worth, that results are everything. But here's the Stoic truth. You are not your outcomes. You are your effort, your focus, your consistency, the way you face the day when things are unclear, the way you stay disciplined when no one notices. That's where your character is formed, not in what you achieve, but in how you approach the work. Think about the farmer. He doesn't plant seeds and expect fruit the next morning. He prepares the soil, waters it, waits, trusts. The results come later, sometimes much later, but the care is constant. The effort is non-negotiable. That's how inner growth works too. You can't force your progress to arrive on your timeline. You can only keep showing up, even when it feels invisible. And here's the paradox. The more you focus on effort instead of outcome, the better your results actually become. Why? Because you're not distracted. You're not constantly measuring, comparing, or doubting. You're immersed in the process, fully present, and that presence sharpens your performance. You're more focused, more creative, more resilient, because your worth isn't tied to whether or not you win. It's tied to whether or not you gave your best. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." You can't control the outcome. You can't control how people respond, how fast success comes, or how the world rewards your efforts. But you can control your attitude, your effort, your discipline, and that's where your power lives. But detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply about the right things, about your growth, your virtue, your process, and let go of the obsession with approval or reward. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable. Because when your peace depends on outcomes, you're a hostage to circumstances. But when your peace is built on effort, you're free. So if you're not seeing the results you hoped for, pause and reflect, not on what you've gained, but on how you've grown. Are you more focused than you were 6 months ago, more resilient, more honest with yourself? Then you're evolving. The results will come. Maybe not in the form you expected, but in the form you need. Detach from results. Reattach to your purpose, to your daily actions, to the quiet discipline of effort. Because in the end, the process is not just how you get the reward. The process is the reward. It's where you become someone stronger, sharper, more grounded. Focus on the effort and let the rest unfold in its time. 7. Silence your inner critic with reason. There's a voice inside your head, and sometimes it's not on your side. It doubts you when you're trying. It mocks you when you fail. It whispers that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough to change. This inner critic doesn't shout. It quietly erodes your confidence, one judgment at a time. But here's what the Stoics knew. The most dangerous enemies aren't out there. They're within. And the most powerful skill you can learn is how to challenge that voice with reason. Epictetus said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. That includes the judgments we make about ourselves. You miss a deadline, and the voice says, 'See, you're lazy.' You feel anxious, and it whispers, 'You're weak.' But those aren't facts. their interpretations, automatic thoughts you've never stopped to question. The Stoic doesn't just feel, he examines. He asks, is this true? Is this useful? Is this helping me grow? If not, he lets it go. Most people let their thoughts run wild, unfiltered. But Stoicism is a kind of mental discipline. It teaches you to hold each thought up to the light and ask, is this rational, or is it fear wearing the mask of truth? Because not every thought deserves your belief. Not every emotion deserves your surrender. And certainly, not every self-judgment reflects your reality. Your inner critic often speaks in extremes. You always mess up. You never follow through. But reason sees the nuance. Maybe you messed up today, but not every day. Maybe you struggled this week, but you're still showing up. That's the power of reason. It doesn't erase your mistakes, but it puts them in context. It reminds you that failure is feedback, not identity. And this isn't about delusion. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's about responding instead of reacting. When the voice in your head says you're falling behind, ask, compared to who? Compared to what? When it says you're not making progress, ask, how do I define progress? Am I expecting perfection instead of effort? When it says you'll never change, ask, is that true or just familiar? Over time, reason becomes your ally. You stop being bullied by your thoughts. You stop believing everything you think. And something incredible happens. Your mind becomes quieter, not because the doubts disappear, but because they no longer control you. You listen, you assess, and then you decide what stays and what goes. One of the most overlooked forms of self-respect is learning how to speak to yourself. Not with ego, not with false praise, but with clarity, compassion, and truth. Because your inner critic feeds on shame and silence. But it dies in the light of awareness. When you replace harshness with honesty, you build something far more powerful than confidence. You build trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. So the next time your mind turns against you, don't fight it with anger. Don't drown it with noise. Sit with it. Listen. Then answer it. Not with fear, but with reason. Because your thoughts don't define you, but your response to them does. 8. Shape your mind before shaping your world. It's tempting to believe that if we just fixed what's around us, everything would fall into place. A better job, a different city, new people, more money, and suddenly peace would appear. But the Stoics saw the truth clearly. Your world is not what happens outside of you. Your world is what happens inside your mind. And if your thoughts are scattered, negative, reactive, then even the most perfect circumstances will feel hollow. Because no matter where you go, your mind comes with you. A chaotic mind creates a chaotic life. You may think the problem is your schedule, your relationships, your lack of results, but often the root is deeper. It's how you perceive those challenges, how you narrate your own story, how you interpret events that unfold. The Stoic doesn't just try to control outcomes, he trains his perspective. And that's where real power begins. Training your mind is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's what you choose to focus on when things go wrong. It's how you talk to yourself when you're tired, or discouraged, or afraid. It's what you feed your brain, the thoughts you repeat, the stories you believe, the judgments you hold. Most people let their minds consume whatever appears, negativity, noise, distraction, and then wonder why they feel anxious, confused, stuck. But your mind is like a muscle. It becomes what you train it to be. and the Stoic trains it with intentionality. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not philosophy, that's instruction. You have the ability to shape how you think. You can choose patience over anger, action over procrastination, focus over distraction. But like any skill, this takes time, it takes effort. You must catch your thoughts in motion, not after the damage, but in the moment. You must pause, examine, and redirect, again and again. And when you do this consistently, the world outside begins to shift. Not because it changed, but because you did. The same traffic, the same pressure, the same uncertainty, now meets a mind that is calmer, more resilient, more grounded. That's the secret of inner work. You're not escaping problems, you're preparing yourself to meet them well. So many people spend their energy trying to fix the surface of life, their environment, their image, their routines, while ignoring the operating system that runs it all. But a new routine won't save you if your mindset is still built on fear. A new job won't fulfill you if your thoughts are still ruled by scarcity. And even the perfect opportunity will fall apart if your self-sabotage isn't addressed at the source. That's why Stoicism teaches you to begin where it matters, within. You shape your mind not through force, but through awareness, through reading, through writing, through moments of stillness, through choosing, moment by moment, to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. This is the path of the inner craftsman, the person who sculpts their perception until it becomes an ally, not an enemy. You don't need to escape your life, you need to evolve your lens. Start there. Shape your mind, and you'll no longer be a slave to conditions. You'll become a source of clarity, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Because once your mind is stable, everything else becomes manageable. 9. Eliminate excuses. They weaken your character. Excuses are subtle. They don't scream, they whisper. It's not the right time. I'm too tired. Maybe next week. They come dressed as logic, cloaked in realism, pretending to protect you from failure. But all they really do is protect your comfort. And comfort is the enemy of growth. The Stoics were ruthless with themselves when it came to excuses. Why? Because they understood that every excuse, no matter how small, is a moment of surrender. It's a decision to stay the same when you could have become stronger. Character isn't built in ease, it's built in those exact moments when your mind offers you a way out, and you refuse. When you choose action over delay, commitment over avoidance, ownership over blame. And each time you do that, you sharpen something deep within you, your ability to trust yourself. But when you allow excuses to multiply, something else happens. You begin to shrink, not all at once, but gradually. Your standards drop, your confidence fades, and you start to believe your own justifications. The danger is not in failing. The danger is in believing that your excuses are the truth, that you really can't improve, that it's too late to change, that you're not like the people who succeed. These aren't facts, they're stories, and every time you repeat them, they get stronger, until eventually they become part of your identity. The Stoic doesn't accept that. He sees excuses for what they are, mental traps, and he trains himself to confront them, not negotiate with them, because once you start negotiating with weakness, it wins. It always finds a reason to delay, a reason to skip the workout, to break the habit, to postpone the hard conversation. But strength comes from refusal, from standing up to your own softness, from saying, "No, I do the work," even when it's inconvenient, especially then. This doesn't mean you become harsh or robotic. It means you become honest. You stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending that your circumstances are the reason you're stuck. And you begin to ask harder questions. What am I avoiding? What am I afraid of? Where am I giving myself a way out instead of a way forward? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary, because clarity is the cure for self-deception. When you eliminate excuses, something powerful happens. You reclaim your edge. You move from passive to active, from a victim of conditions to a creator of conditions, and you start to see your life differently, not as something happening to you, but something being built by you. The people who grow the most aren't the ones with the best resources. They're the ones with the fewest excuses. They act while others wait. They move while others talk. And because of that, they evolve, not because they had it easy, but because they refused to keep explaining why they couldn't. So from now on, catch your excuses in the moment. Don't give them room to grow. Replace "I can't" with "I choose not to," because that language forces honesty, and honesty forces growth. The Stoic doesn't aim to feel better. He aims to be better. And that begins the moment you stop making excuses and start making moves. Because every excuse you eliminate is one step closer to who you were meant to become. 10. Become a student of your own life. There is no classroom more honest than your daily experience, no teacher more consistent than your own habits, and no subject more important than understanding yourself. Yet most people go through life on autopilot, reacting, repeating, forgetting. They blame the past, escape into distractions, and wonder why they feel stuck. But the Stoic moves differently. He studies, not books alone, but behavior, not just philosophy, but action. Because he knows wisdom isn't something you read once. It's something you practice every day. Becoming a student of your life means observing your patterns, not with judgment, but with curiosity. How do you respond to stress? What triggers your anxiety? When do you give up too early? When do you come alive? These aren't just personal quirks, they're clues, and the more aware you become of these moments, the more power you gain over them. Awareness is the first step toward transformation, because what you don't notice, you can't change. The Stoics practiced daily reflection. At the end of each day, they asked, "What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What will I do differently tomorrow?" That simple act turns your life into a living curriculum. You stop repeating unconscious habits. You stop blaming circumstances, and you start learning, not just from success, but from failure, discomfort, and silence. This kind of self-study builds humility. You realize that you are not above error, not finished evolving, not entitled to comfort. You realize that every mistake is a lesson waiting to be claimed, and every moment of tension is a mirror revealing what still needs work. But here's the beauty. When you treat your life as a practice, you never fail. You just refine. This mindset transforms how you see obstacles. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" You stop looking for rescue and you begin looking for meaning, even in the hard moments, even in the setbacks, because the Stoic understands pain is information, resistance is a signal, and your response is your curriculum. But being a student also means being willing to unlearn, to question what you've accepted blindly, to realize that not all of your thoughts are true, not all of your reactions are wise, And not all of your beliefs are useful. You must be willing to examine the foundation of your thinking. Where did this belief come from? Who gave me this standard? Does this story I tell myself help me become stronger, or does it keep me small? This is not an easy practice. It takes courage to see yourself clearly, to take full responsibility, to say, "This is mine to fix, no one else." But that's where growth lives, not in blame, but in ownership, not in theory, but in application. And that's what separates the Stoic path from passive living. It demands that you engage with your life, not just exist within it. So today, start studying your life like it matters, because it does. Notice your thoughts, watch your habits, listen to your excuses, track your energy. Use each experience as a lesson, each conflict as a test, each day as a page in the book of you, not for perfection, but for refinement, for awareness, for wisdom. Because the more you learn from your own life, the more capable you become of shaping it. And in the end, the best students of life become its quiet masters, not by controlling everything, but by understanding themselves deeply. That's where power begins. The world will keep spinning. Noise will never stop. Distractions will always be one click away. But in the middle of all that chaos, there's one place where your true strength is built, and that place is within you. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when life calms down. Now. Because growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It demands presence, intention, discipline. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need someone to come and hand you a new life. You need to build it, brick by brick, habit by habit, thought by thought. The Stoic path doesn't offer ease. It offers clarity. It offers direction. It shows you that your mind, your actions, and your standards are the tools that shape your future. You are your greatest project. No one is coming to save you. Discipline is your anchor, and progress, not perfection, is your mission. You won't always feel like it. You won't always see instant results. But that's where the magic happens. In those moments when you keep showing up anyway, when you commit to becoming just a little better than you were yesterday, again and again. So let this be your turning point. No more waiting. No more hiding behind excuses. No more measuring your worth by things you can't control. Take what you've learned here and live it, quietly, fiercely, consistently. Because in a world full of noise and distraction, the person who dares to build themselves from the inside out, that person becomes unshakable, and that person can be you.